Okay, welcome. This is the first tutorial for Photoshop for the kids at St. Louis International School in Milan. This is a lesson that we actually ran in class, and it's an introduction to Photoshop for the kids. The first assumption I'm making is that you already have Photoshop set up. If you don't, then you need to come and talk to me about it, and I'll help you set it up on your computer. We're going to go through and we're going to change this image, and what we're essentially going to do is make it a black and white image and then cut the car out so that just the blue's popping through, and then if we get time we're going to change the color of the car as well, just the car, nothing else. Everything else will stay black and white. The idea of this is it's an introduction to Photoshop, to learn about layers, to learn about brushes and a few different things. It's not meant to be the best way or the most accurate way to do these files straight away. It's an introduction to Photoshop. It's an introduction to doing a few different things, and it'll teach you a few little skills and get you up and going with Photoshop. So the first thing we're going to look at is I've opened a picture of a car here, and it's a colourful, nice, good-looking car. It's a Mercedes. And over here on the right-hand side, you'll see that there's a section here called layers, right? And so you want to make sure that you can see your layers window. If you can't see that, you go up into window and you make sure you choose layers, and you can see your layers window. Okay, so we're going to work on this layer here. Now the first thing you need to notice is there's an eyeball here on the left-hand side, and there's a little padlock here on the right-hand side. And what that padlock essentially means is you cannot touch this layer. You can't change it and edit it as it is, and the eyeball means you can see it, right? So if I turn the eyeball off, which it's not going to let me do because it's locked, you would not be able to see it. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag it down and put on the second one from the bottom right, and we're going to duplicate that layer. So now you'll see we've got two copies. Okay, so now if I turn the eyeballs off, you can see we've got a blank page, right? If I'll turn the eyeball back on again, I'll turn both of them back on again, and we're going to work on this top layer. So the way that the layers work is whatever's on top, that's the one that you can see straight away, and whatever's underneath, it's what's behind that layer. It's the first thing that's behind that layer. So on this top layer, the first thing we want to do is we want to make it black and white. So we're going to go up to Image, we're going to go Adjust, and we're going to go to Hue Saturation, and we're going to grab the saturation and just pull all of the saturated color out. And there we go, we've made the image black and white. Now, if you can see again over on our layers over here, we've got now a black and white preview here and a colorful preview here. And we can see the one that's on top. So when we look at the layers, we see the layer that's on top, and this one's hidden. Now, if I go through and I erase something off the top, I can see what's in behind it. So if I just get my eraser tool, and I just come and I just erase over the top here, we can see that we've cut the grey section out, and we can see the blue behind it. And we can prove that by turning off the bottom layer, and we can see on the top layer, the only one that's got the eyeball visible, we can see that there's a big hole in the middle of it, and if we turn the bottom layer on, the one that's behind, we can see that the colour comes through. Alright, so that's one thing. That's the first thing that we want to show you, is how the layers work. Now let's talk about this cutting out. You could cut out with lots of different ways. I'm going to show you the fastest, easiest way, not the best way, but the fastest, easiest way. And that is to grab the eraser tool, right? So I've just clicked on the eraser. It's one of the tools on the left-hand side over here. And I've got this eraser tool here. Now, there's a couple of things we want to learn about the eraser tool today. The first one is how it cuts. So if I just run it exactly as it is right now, you can see it's got a hard edge, it's got a sharp edge just there that cuts all the way around. It's really quite sharp. So we could do a sharp line if we wanted to do a cut with that. The other thing we could do is we go up to the top corner over here, and we put the hardness all the way to the other end, down to 0. And now if I do a cut with that, you'll see it's kind of a soft feathery cut. This is called a feathery cut. And so it kind of blends into the grey in the background. Now, you can use either one. You can use a feathery cut or a hard cut, either way. If you use a feathery cut near other colours, you might pick up some of those other colours. So you don't really want to do that. You want to really use the hard cut near hard edges. Second thing is the size of the brush. You can up and down the size of the brush here, and it'll make your brush bigger or smaller depending on how you want it. There's a keyboard shortcut that you can do that as well, which is the square brackets. So square brackets on the right gets bigger, square brackets on the left gets smaller. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and cut this image out. I'm going to cut just the blue car out, and then we'll continue with the video from there. Okay, so I've cut this image out, and you will have noticed when I did the video, I know it was going quick, but there's a few little things you will have seen where I made a mistake and then I went back again. I pressed the Command Z key on the keyboard and it just goes back, right? So it's it'll go back to the last step that you've made. The other alternative you can do for that is you go up here to the top right hand corner, and there's this little arrow here called the history button. You press that and that'll show every single little move that you've made, and you can actually go back 10, 15, 20, 50 steps if you want to, back to where you were previously. So that's a way to go back in case you've made a little bit of a mistake. So I've cut the car out here and it looks like it's not too bad. It's not a great job, but it's not too bad. You will have noticed that I zoomed in sometimes. That's Command plus, or to zoom out is Command minus. To see the full screen, I press Command 0 and it gives me a full screen preview. Now if we have a look at our layers over on the right hand side, you can see I've got a black and white layer still and a coloured layer. If I hide the coloured layer, you'll see that that's pretty much what I've cut out. Again, it's not the best way to do it. It's just a quick way to show you that this is working. If I hide my top layer, you can see the colors are all still there on the original image. I've just made the background black and white essentially, right? So that's the first thing we want to do with our video. Now the second thing we want to do is I want to change the color of the car. So I'm going to duplicate that bottom layer again. And you'll see my black and white layer stayed on the top. I've got a duplicate in the middle that's a coloured one, and then I've got the bottom layer that's coloured. Now on this one in the middle, if I go to Image, Adjust, Hue, Saturation, I can now get this picture and I can change the hue, and we can actually change the colour of the car. So you'll see the car will go green. If I change, goes over to yellow, then over to a dirty orangey brown colour. Go the other way, we can go to a purple and a pink and a orange color again. Now let's say we go to pink. Now that seems to have worked. The car looks pretty good. It's pink, you know, I've given it a different paint job. The only problem is the number plate. The number plate's now changed from the yellow and blue, I think it's a California number plate, to this red and fluorescent green. That doesn't really work. But I know I've still got my original number plate on the bottom layer. So this time, instead of editing the top layer, I'm going to click on the middle layer and edit the middle layer. I'm going to zoom right back in again to the number plate. I'm going to get my eraser tool, and I'm actually going to be erasing from the middle layer, not from the top layer. And so that way, now we've got the top layer that's black and white, we've got the middle layer that we've changed to these crazy colors. If we actually hide the top layer, you'll see everything else has changed as well. But we've changed the color of those layers. So we've got pink, and we deleted out of it the number plate. You can see I've done it there, deleted the number plate out so that the bottom color number plate comes through. And now we've got a black and white picture with a pink car with a correct color number plate for that car, I suppose, if it's in California or wherever, Oregon it says it's in. So that's the way that it should look. Now, the final thing you want to do is save that file. So you can either go File, Save As, and you save it as a Photoshop file. You'll see right here it says Photoshop. We want to leave that as Photoshop. Call it whatever we want, and the extension on the end is .psd. Now, if you don't need to have the open Photoshop file with all the layers, what we do is we right click over in this little corner over in the right hand corner over here. See those little lines right there? We click Flatten Image, and it makes the image all back into one flat image. Then we go File, Save As, and we can save it as a JPEG or a TIFF or a PNG or whatever else you like. JPEG's kind of a standard one because it's nice and small, it's compressed. Pink car, we'll call this pink car. Save it to our desktop and hit save and leave it at full maximum, and that's it. We've saved this file. Now the car is a pink car on a black and white background with the right number plate. Now, we'll be doing lots of these videos in Photoshop. They'll get more and more complex as we go along. This is just the first one to introduce working around in the screen a little bit, where your eraser toolbar is, how your layers work, the hue saturation, we can play with that. This is just our introduction video. If you want more videos, just click on the YouTube channel, Nick May in YouTube, and remember to visit slsmilan.com.